Hey guys, what's going on? This is Seth, REtipster blog. I wanted to put together this video to clarify a few things from a video and article I published earlier this year regarding a credit card processing company called BluePay. BluePay is basically this credit card processing company that I was told you can use to process credit card transactions for the purpose of selling real estate. So things like earnest deposits, assignment fees, if somebody buys a property outright from you, installment payments for seller finance deals, rent payments, all these things. To the best of my knowledge, you could use BluePay to process credit card transactions for all these different purposes when you're selling real estate. And this was like a huge deal for me when I first learned about it, because I had been looking for years for a way to do this without like violating any laws or regulations or anything like that. And so, I was all excited, signed up for my BluePay account, and I put together a video explaining how other people can do the same. And what had happened was 2 or 3 months after the fact, I started hearing from other people who also were trying to get BluePay accounts. A lot of people were just getting denied outright, like they couldn't get approved. But for those who could get approved, they kind of were being told these rules where you can only use this service to accept credit card payments if you already have transferred the deed to the new owner. So basically, if you sell a property, you complete the deed, send it in, get it recorded, and then it has to be verifiable online that the new person owns the property, then they can pay you by credit card. And for a lot of reasons, that doesn't make any sense for real estate investors. I mean, that's totally a backwards way to do it. Personally, I would never send a deed to be recorded and have that done before I've been paid for it. Or at the very least, I'd be using a title company where the title company would kind of be our intermediary, handling both the transfer of the deed and the collection of the payment. But in terms of like closing in-house or accepting earnest deposits or down payments, basically you can't do any of that unless that deed has already been transferred. In a lot of situations, that just doesn't make sense. So technically, you can use their service to sell real estate and collect credit card payments for that, but there's like all these little caveats and regulations that, practically speaking, for most purposes, don't really make it feasible to do that. I will say, in the case of a seller finance deal, there are some situations, for example, if you're using a mortgage or a deed of trust to secure that property, it is actually feasible to transfer the deed to that buyer, and then you have a security instrument, which is that mortgage or that note or that deed of trust, which allows you to take the property back or sell it off at an auction if that person ever defaults. So in those situations, it actually is possible and even practical to transfer that property first and then start collecting those payments. So I don't want to say like across the board it makes no sense, but in a lot of situations, and specifically the situations when I would have been using it, it doesn't make sense, because these rules that you have to follow sort of get in the way of using them on any practical level. Something else I was told was that you can use the service to like collect rent and lease payments. However, there's a different like industry code associated with that. So if you did get an account approved for, say, a land business and collecting cash payments when you sell land, that's a different use than collecting rent payments. So you'd have to actually like create a second account if you wanted to do both. And if you created an account for one purpose, you can't use it for the other purpose. And if you do, again, you're violating the regulations, and potentially you can even get fined if you are, saying that you're going to use it for one purpose, but then you're using it for a different purpose. And if you don't necessarily get fined, you can also get like the payments reversed. So the payments that were made to you have to get sent back to that person after the fact. And in any case, nobody wants that to happen. I'd be really upset if that happened to me. So I'm putting together this video just to clarify that. And believe me, I would have just said this in my original video had I known this, but it wasn't told to me when I signed up for it. I mean, I was told pretty clearly, like, yep, you can use it for that, with no real mention of these little rules and regulations you have to follow, which are actually kind of a big deal, given that they really can get in the way of using the service for the way that I thought it could be used. So I don't want you to end up in a situation where this isn't gonna end up being the right solution for you. So if you were thinking about signing up for BluePay, or if you already have, I just want you to know BluePay may not be the most ideal fit. And I think there are still certainly some situations where it can make sense. But a lot of the uses that I thought you could use it for, you can't really use it for that. Or you can, but it's like really hard to actually make sense of it because of the weird rules that they have in association with those particular uses. So unfortunately, that's just the fact of the matter, and I would have gotten this information out there sooner, but I just learned about it in the past few weeks as I ran into it myself and as I've been hearing about it from other people. For what it's worth, I can say this isn't necessarily just a BluePay thing. This is actually like an industry standard thing. This is something that's governed by like the big 5 credit card companies: Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American, I forget the other ones. But basically any credit card processing service is going to have these similar restrictions in place. It's just that a lot of them don't make it very clear. So even if you're not using BluePay, say if you are trying to use some other credit card processor out there, be aware of this because it does apply to you, and these are the kinds of things that you're probably going to have to abide by regardless of which route you're going. Accepting credit card payments for real estate is still kind of like uncharted territory because not many people have been doing it. And if you're going to go down this route, you have to take responsibility for abiding by the proper uses and not doing anything that violates these terms and conditions. So it's a bummer, I know, I'm bummed about it too, but I just want to make sure I was being clear with the information that I put out there, and I know it definitely wasn't clear with the original blog post that I, had put on the blog because I didn't know about all this stuff. So now that I do know about it, just want to make sure you know about it as well. And really, whatever your situation is, don't take my word for it. Be sure to check with the underwriters or the risk people at the credit card processing company that you're using. And just make sure you explain exactly what you're doing, and then they can inform you if there's any other special rules you need to abide by or if there's anything wrong with what you're trying to do. So anyway, I wish I had a happier message to convey in this video, but it's an important message that you should be aware of if you're gonna try to accept credit card payments for real estate. So just want to make sure I put this out there. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next video.